Welcome to Illuminating Catholics, podcast of the Diocese of Sioux City. I'm Dawn Prosser, Director of Communications for the Diocese. Together with Carmen Bauer of the Faith Formation Office, we will shed light upon topics of faith in the modern church. Our guests include Catholic clergy, religious sisters, and other experts in their fields to help us understand what's happening in the church today. We will explore issues, even the tough ones, and to find answers to common questions about Catholicism. Thank you for joining us for today's Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Welcome back to Illuminating Catholics. I'm Dawn Prosser, Director of Communications for the Diocese of Sioux City.
And I'm Carmen Bauer. I am the Director of Faith Formation for the Diocese of Sioux City. We're so excited that you're here to join us again today for another episode of Illuminating Catholics. We're so grateful for all of the support and excitement we've received so far from those who have taken the chance on us and have started listening, and for those who have shared on social media. That's always really appreciated. Today we welcome Amy Bloch, who is the Executive Director of Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Sioux City. Welcome, Amy.
Thanks. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, we are so excited for you to be here. You have done incredible work with the Catholic Charities, and I can't believe, has it been 10 years now since you have been in that role?
Yes, it was 10 years in the beginning of July of this year.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, it's hard to believe.
Yes, well, congratulations. It's always really neat to be in a position long enough that you can see your vision start to be fulfilled. So I bet that is incredible to be able to look back and see your own growth and development and how Catholic Charities has changed in that time.
Yes, we're really moving, especially this year, which I think we're going to have an opportunity to talk about what we're doing this year. And we've seen a lot of growth and change, yet still remaining, I think, true to our heart and to our mission.
Oh, absolutely. Now, for those who have not had the opportunity to meet you, would you be able to share with us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, where you went to college, and that information?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in a small town in Minnesota, Marshall, Minnesota. And I came from a strong Catholic background. I always talk about my grandma Kyer, who was such a devout Catholic in Owatonna, Minnesota. And I grew up going to Catholic grade school. And from Marshall, I ended up coming to college here at Morningside and met my husband and ended up getting my master's degree down at University of Nebraska, Omaha. Ended up staying here, and we have a daughter who's 16. She goes to Heelan, and I belong to Sacred Heart Parish here in Sioux City. I spent really the majority of my career at Jackson Recovery Centers. Really had a passion and a heart for working with those who struggled with addiction. Wasn't anything I ever intended to do, but really just fell in love with that population of people. And I really kind of fell into my work at working with the Catholic Diocese. I had a friend who worked at the diocese, and I ended up doing some consulting work. And I had planned that I was just going to stay at Jackson Recovery Centers for my whole career. And so when the position came open for the executive director, my friend said, "Why don't you apply for it?" And I'm like, "No, I'm happy where I'm at." And she's like, "No, come on." So I came and I interviewed. It was with Bishop Nicholas and the board chair and some other folks. And the interview just went great. Like, it could not have gone better. And I felt it just went really well. And so the next day I called and I left a message for Royce Raniger, and I said, I withdraw my application. Because I was just like, no, I need to stay where I am. And 2 weeks later, Royce called me and he said, "The bishop's been praying on it and would like for you to pray on it and reconsider." Well, I mean, we all know about Catholic guilt. It is real, folks. I tell you, it is real. I mean, what am I going to say to that? The bishop's been praying on it, right? So I prayed on it, and I talked to my family. I had another meeting with Royce and one other person, and at that point, I just knew that I was called to do this work, and I believe it more and more. And so I said yes, and here I am 10 years later.
It's always beautiful to see the hand of God in people's life,
yes.
And how he sometimes calls us unexpectedly to new and different things.
Right.
So for those of us who, I think a lot of Catholics will hear about Catholic Charities, right? And we know maybe the surface level of what services you provide. How would you describe the mission of Catholic Charities?
I really describe us as the service arm of the church. And I think what I really see us as doing, we're out there doing the work I think that Christ did. We always talk in our staff meetings as, Jesus wasn't hanging out with the kings and the pharaohs, right? He was there hanging out and spending his time with those who are really struggling. Maybe it was the lepers or the people who are really in need, maybe those who other people didn't care for. And that's, I think, really the mission of Catholic Charities, is the most vulnerable, those who really are in need of someone to lift them up and to help them really in a hands-on way. So those who maybe need assistance with food, those who don't have a home, those who are really hurting and need somebody to talk to help them find their way. And so by providing, most of what we do is providing mental health services. And really today, more than ever, our kids and our families are really hurting. And a lot of it is due to mental health issues. And so that is really what we try to provide at Catholic Charities.
Building on that comment that you made about kids and families and helping them, I looked back at some of the things that we have written over just maybe even the last 3-4 months for Catholic Charities, because you have so much going on. Thank you for the fodder for our articles to help enlighten people. And I noticed quite a bit of the stories, either the story themselves or part of it, dealt with the youth mental health crisis, not just here in Northwest Iowa, but nationally. And you did cite some studies, I think, with the CDC, some statistics. Could you share with the listeners what's going on out there, what we're dealing with?
Mm-hmm. It's really, it can be, I think, sometimes frightening when people hear some of the statistics that are out there. Yet I think it's really important that we know what's happening, because once we know, we can start to make a difference and we can start preventing it from continuing. Right now, suicide is the second leading cause of death for youth in Iowa, the first leading cause of death in Nebraska and South Dakota. And that's for kids as young as 8 years old. So that's pretty startling. We have 1 in 5 kids who are struggling with a serious mental health diagnosis. And we know that left untreated, that goes on to cause significant problems with their ability to graduate from school, causes significant relationship problems. It even affects their life expectancy. So those are some of the things that we're really seeing. We also see, and it's been really interesting since COVID, the number of couples who are really struggling with their marriage. COVID was really difficult for many of us, and that isolation, people being together, the unknown. And so as a result, many families are really struggling. So those are things that we're really seeing and people entering our office.
Yes, so it was amazing, and you don't think about it in the community, and you just think, well, it's a random student here or there. We were just so surprised talking to you how prevalent it is, and seeing our schools hiring mental health professionals full time, and also you have school-based therapists that come in and help.
Right. So one of the things that we've been able to do this past year is we now have in almost every one of our Catholic schools a school-based mental health therapist. That's been a great partnership we've had with our Catholic schools, and that is also due to the Catholic School Foundation, in that they've been able to supplement funding so that we've been able to do that. And there's a lot of research that shows if you can provide services right there in the school, it really removes a lot of barriers for families. You think about it, you're a busy family, you're running all over. How do you then make time to go pick up your child? How do you get them to services? And also financial barriers for families, which can be significant. Even if you have insurance, copays or deductibles can be very high. So if we can remove that barrier so that kids can get intervention early, that is really the key, versus waiting till a mental health crisis comes because that's often when we wait. But if we can intervene early, it can really make a difference and prevent some of those.
So as you discuss intervening early, for parents who, we all look at our children and we see the highs and lows of their lives, what are some tips, I guess, for parents to discern, when we can accompany our children and work with them and when they might need to see a professional? What might you recommend?
So I think that's often so hard to know as a parent, being the mother of a 16-year-old sometimes, and even sometimes it's younger. Is this normal childhood development, or is this something I should be paying attention to? There's some common things, if you notice significant changes in their sleep or eating. I think one of the biggest challenges comes with moodiness, especially as you start getting into the 12, 13, 14 years. So I would say with that age group, you're looking for consistent patterns and if it persists over a period of time. Those are the things I would really say for those age groups. And if you notice that, that's when you might want to say, there's something more going on here. I need to pay attention. With little kids, what we often tell parents to pay attention to, kids often report things more physically, headaches, stomach aches. Little kids often report it more that way. And sometimes it's because they don't have the words to articulate feelings like we do as adults. So kids will often report it more in that way.
Well, that's really interesting. And as we think of, helping our children through these services of therapy and the professionals who work with them, obviously, that greatly benefits the child. When a child is benefited in that way and is offered the ability to maybe heal or work through some of their life experiences, how do you see that also benefiting the community around them, their classroom, their family, their friend groups?
Mm-hmm. Significantly, and I think sometimes that's what we don't think about. If you have a child who is struggling, you think about the kids who are around them, in a classroom. And oftentimes kids can even act out some of those problems. And so a teacher is maybe paying more attention to that child. Other kids then aren't getting that. Or if a child is acting that out, those behavior issues, they're acting that out to other kids in those classrooms, which is affecting their learning, their social development. So it's important that we think about that ripple effect on other kids in their development, in their classrooms, which many times we just don't think about. Or if a child is hungry, how are they learning, which again then is affecting other kids in those classrooms. So it really is making that impact. The other thing to think about is in our communities is with parents. If you have a child who's struggling with their mental health, parents are missing work, which there's a lot of data out there about that, how much work parents miss because of it. Or as a parent, you're preoccupied with what's happening with your child. And so you're not as productive at work when that's happening. So those are also things that are happening. So if we can, with that child, help them get better with their mental health, it's really impacting more kids. It's helping that family, that parent, and then our workplaces and the community as a whole.
That reminds me of, I watched online the gift from MIRD to Catholic Charities, $1 million gift for
just that little tiny gift that we received. Oh my gosh,
that still blows my mind. I'm so excited for you.
Yes.
So why don't you share with the listeners? We're so excited. You just broke ground on a new project. Can you tell us about that and how that is going to assist you in your mission of helping children and families?
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I love to get to talk about this. So for the past few years, we at Catholic Charities, we've just outgrown our space. We've had that building for 30 years, and we have no space left in that building. We have nowhere to store a box. We have a psychiatrist who we're blessed enough to work with, to come in and work with our kids and families. She's just moving from room to room. So we knew we needed to do something, and we weren't really sure what that was. And then, so as we started talking about that, and kind of this mental health crisis with kids began to grow, we started thinking about, could we do some specialized space for children? And then this wonderful woman named Angeline left us in her will. She passed away, and she's from Ashton, Iowa. And at that point, it really was a kickstart to us really being able to take that dream and really put some feet to it, so to speak. And so we started planning, in addition to our current building, that we could have designated space for children's mental health outpatient services. And from that, we started working with an architect and our board, and then we wrote for the MERD grant. And the grant is a matching grant, and it needs to have financial impact on our community. And so that was something that we had to demonstrate. And it's the biggest grant that they've given, though, the $1 million, and they too were sold on what a difference this would make in our community. As part of that, which was really exciting, we had letters of support from many entities. We had from our Senator Feenstra's office, J.D. Skolton's office, Rocky DeWitt's office, the Chamber, the Sioux City Chamber president, just so many of our local government officials that were all on board in support of this United Way. So it was really exciting to see the community come together to really support this. And so as a result, we broke ground at the end of October, right?
Yes.
I'm trying to think, the 25th, I think. And so it really doubles our building size, and we know that kids get better in space that's really designed for them. It's going to be fun and a healing environment, and families will really know that when they bring their kids to us, that we really understand children, and it's a place where their kids can get better.
So you mentioned the most generous bequest from Angeline Tom, thank you.
Yes.
And MERD. And were there other contributions that were needed to finance this project?
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned that. We have been really overwhelmed with the generosity of so many in the community. The diocese has been a big supporter of that. Bishop Nicholas himself gave personally to that. We have many other, there's been businesses, individuals who have given to that. We had 100% of our board who gave, 100% of our employees gave to this. So it's just really been exciting to see the commitment to this project. And we're just really excited to, every time there's like a drill feeling like it's coming up through my ceiling, I just smile because I know what it's going to mean for kids. So our hope is that the addition will be done in June, and then we're also doing some remodeling to our current building because some of the current offices are going to be changing because we're also, as part of this, going to have a new front entrance. So there's going to be some remodeling done as well, and that all of it will be done by October of next year.
Do you recall how big the addition is?
It's about 7,200 square feet.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's going to be a nice addition.
Yes, I'll get my steps in.
That it's so exciting to hear about the community support, obviously the support of your donors and MERD and the different governmental entities recognizing the importance of this. It's sad in a way that we are talking about this, but that is where we're at. And we had talked about, so let's say we've got the building built, got our addition, and you've recognized in your child some changes. What would a parent do? I mean, do they talk to the teacher first? Do they talk to their primary care physician? What do you recommend so a child can receive care either from you or someone else?
Right. And I think that's the most important thing. We have many really great mental health providers here in our community, really across the diocese. And I would say you can do multiple things. You can talk to that's often the first place parents go is to their primary health care provider because you've established a relationship with them. They know your child. It's a great place to go. School counselors can be a great place to go. I always say to people, if you're ever wondering, you can always just call us too and just say, this is going on with my child. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if it's normal or should I be worried, or can you give me some advice on how to talk to my child about this? I've had many conversations with parents just on how to do that because sometimes you just don't know how to do that or if you should have a conversation with them about that. I think the most important thing is if you're unsure, there's a red flag of some kind. And so don't be afraid to talk to your child or to reach out and ask somebody about it. You as a parent know your child better than anybody. So if something doesn't seem right, it isn't. Trust that in yourself.
So this building addition is for your Sioux City-based office.
Yes.
Obviously, we're going to have listeners in hopefully 24 counties of
That's
Northwest
right.
Iowa and
That's
beyond.
right.
So if I live in Algona or Boone, how would parents in those communities seek help for their child through Catholic Charities?
Yep. So we do have offices in Carroll, Fort Dodge, and Spencer. And we also do provide services through telehealth. So that could be on a computer, on your phone, with a video on your phone. We try to make sure that we're able to serve everybody in the diocese. If we're able to, I wish we had offices everywhere. Unfortunately, we don't. But we are there to help you. So you can call any of those. We also have a form on our website that if you're just not comfortable even talking to somebody, you can write in a question. You can contact us through our website. Those actually come directly to me, and I usually respond that same day. So they're not just going out to somewhere, but I get them right away and I respond right away back to people. So we welcome those. We want people to get information and responses back right away.
We'll put a link in the show notes if someone
that'd
listening
be
wants
perfect.
to contact you in that manner. And again, you're a parent, you've got a child you're concerned about. What if you're thinking, I cannot afford mental health care for my child, but something's going on? What would you recommend for them, Amy?
I would say don't ever let money be, I would say, a worry, but that's ridiculous because we all can worry about money. But don't let that be a barrier, because we are able to offer a sliding fee scale. And that really is because of the generosity of so many people, United Way, because of the generosity of this diocese. People who give, they give through our Christmas collection, or they give through general donations. But all of those dollars go directly to help people who are in need of some support and help to receive mental health services. So it's based on family size and income. We never ever turn somebody away because they can't afford services. We will make it work regardless of your financial situation.
Thank you so much for the work that you do through Catholic Charities with your wonderful, talented staff. They're so caring. We just can't say enough. And thank you for mentioning the Christmas collection.
Yes.
And you'll see more information on that through all of our communications coming out of the diocese. Amy, we really appreciate you coming in, and you did such a wonderful job of talking about Catholic Charities and the work you do for children and families. And there's other work that you do. We'll bring you on at other times to talk about other projects, if that's all right.
That'd be great.
Thank you so much for helping to shine a light on that for today's youth.
I was going to say that same thing, thank you for shining the light, because I think as we hear those statistics and we see those statistics play out in our own communities and schools, it's so hard to see the darkness in the world. And, part of this podcast is wanting to illuminate and show the good that's happening. The light of Christ is here, that God is working through our local parishioners who have been so generous, as well as the therapists who work with our children. So I think it's just a message to parents of don't let the darkness get you down, because God has provided, whether it is through Catholic Charities or other services, the means to help our children navigate the difficulties in life and in the world. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And you both made reference to that we truly could not do this work without the support of so many individuals here in the diocese. And because it really takes all of us to be able to do this. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy Bloch, Executive Director of Catholic Charities in the Diocese of Sioux City. And thank you to all of you for following us. And we can't wait to share our upcoming episodes with you. So continue to follow us on Illuminating Catholics. Have a blessed day. Thank you for listening to this episode of Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Follow us for more episodes on topics of the Catholic faith. For more diocesan news, visit lumenmedia.org.